I'm not sure if you guys could hear me, but you're muted.
Can you hear us now?
Okay.
Okay. So go ahead, Fred. I can't read your last name from here, but
Dargust.
okay, Dargus.
I don't know if you guys were saying anything prior to this, but I was completely muted.
About you whatsoever.
I'm sorry.
No, I just said we're not, we didn't say anything negative about you. I was kidding. I just read the application number, et cetera, and now it's up to you to tell us what you want to do.
Okay. All right. So Habitat for Humanity is in the process of purchasing these 2 lots. We would like to subdivide. Well, our plan is to take the 4 lots and subdivide them to enough for us to build 6 townhouses. So it'd basically be 3 pairs of homes. So the zoning issues that we have, the requirement is a 10-foot front setback, and we're proposing anywhere from 0 to up to 5 feet, depending on which home. This falls in line with what's currently on the street, so we're kind of mirroring what's already on River Street on both sides of the properties. There's also a side setback requirement of 10 feet total, and we're looking at about a little bit under 4 feet, so 3.79 total side setback. What that would allow us to do is to have a gangway in between the townhouses that would be gated and allow the homeowners access to the individual yards without going through the house or it being landlocked. And the other zoning requirement is for 2 off-street parking spaces. We looked at this carefully, and at one point we were considering having garages or off-street driveways, but the concern was backing in and backing out of the driveway onto River Street, which at times can be kind of congested. So we figured it probably would be a best use, and plus there's plenty of street parking. So we figured it'd be best to add additional 2 homes as opposed to trying to create additional space for parking. So those are the 3 zoning requests or variant zoning requests that I'm requesting. Any questions?
What about the maximum height, which I don't see here? I mean, I see it on the agenda, but I don't see it briefly on what I'm looking at here, and you're not addressing it. So what's that mean? Is that no longer an issue, or?
You know, I noticed that on the, I didn't have it on my application, but I did notice it on the agenda, and it said the maximum height was 40 to 60 feet, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have it in front of me.
That's what it says.
Okay, so if does that mean that the minimum is 40 and the max is 60? I guess it's an interpretation question for me, because if the max is 40 to 60 and I'm at 35, doesn't that, I don't see why I would need a variance for that.
So my understanding is that after the application came in, that Mr. Vera saw this portion of the code, his interpretation was that he would need a variance for that 5 feet because it was under 40. So he reads it to be a minimum of 40, a maximum of 60. The code does state maximum 40 to 60, but given the range, that's his interpretation, and that's why he deemed it necessary to add that variance, even though it wasn't part of the initial application.
Okay, so if that's the way to interpret it as a min max of 40 to 60, then yes, I would need a variance for the 5 feet difference since we're at 35.
I have a question as it relates to the off-street parking. If you were to build 4 single-family homes, you would have a room for a driveway for each one of them, correct?
That we would build it for 5, yes,
And you would be able to accommodate 2 off-street parking spaces for each one of the units, correct?
they would be in the cars would be in series. So it would be one car in front of the other. And our concern, just based on the depth, is that homeowners may block the street. So that was a concern of ours. I'm sorry, not block the street, block the sidewalk. So that's why we decided that that probably wouldn't be a good option.
Well, aren't these lots like 230 or 140 feet long?
Yes. Honestly, I did have that, and we looked at it, and I think after our architect had some conversations, we just decided to not offer them, being that the other homes on the street did not have similar types of parking. So we figured that it'll probably make sense to add more density in terms of homes as opposed to breaking up the number of units or reducing the number of units in order to add parking spaces. Plus, there's plenty of street parking. Again, the concern was backing into traffic may be an issue.
Okay, so I mean, to answer my question, real simply, you could do this if you needed to. If you were to build 4 single-family homes on these 4 lots and not make a subdivision here, you could accommodate all the off-street parking.
Yes, we could.
But as it's drawn up and as you're proposing, you can't.
Correct.
Okay, do we have any other questions for the applicant? John?
I do. Can you clarify that maybe my notes are bad? You're planning to build 3 townhouses?
Well, three pairs.
Right, so it'll be like a
6
duplex,
homes.
I'm sorry.
3
duplexes.
duplexes?
There would be 3 duplexes side by side.
Thank you.
I guess just to ask a follow-up question, because I'm looking at the front setbacks. Similar to the parking, you have the room to set these existing buildings or the proposed buildings back the 10 feet if necessary. The reason that you're proposing not having a setback is to conform with the existing neighborhood. Is that
Correct. Correct. That's right.
But it's, I mean, given the lot sizes are 140 feet in length for each one of them, you could set these back and comply with the zoning code.
I don't think we can actually have 2 parking spaces with.
No, not the
10
parking,
foot-
the 10-foot front setback.
Right.
You could set these 3 buildings back 10 feet and still build out everything you intend to build. It would just make the backyard smaller. I mean, I'm looking at just the overhead drawing on, I don't know what page it's on. Couldn't tell you, but I mean, I'm looking at just the drawing. You're talking 140 foot long lots.
Wide, right. Oh, well, long lots, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they went back 10 more feet, they would comply with that particular provision of the zoning code. And you wouldn't need a variance for that. But it would just be a smaller backyard.
Yeah, yes, a smaller yard, correct.
Okay. And yeah, some of them are 128 feet, some are 140. It's, you know, it depends when you go.
Yeah, it varies, correct.
Okay, do we have anybody here to speak in favor of this proposal? Anybody to speak in opposition? Okay, come ahead. Yeah, but I don't, we probably should move around so Mr. DeGarza could see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. We should just.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jack Cox Jr. Most of you know me.
Could you just come a little, I don't know, maybe
sure.
I'm wrong, but I'd like him to be able to
That's
see
fine.
you.
Go
I'm
ahead,
not
sure.
sure. Can you see him, Mr. DeGuzza?
which-
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Jack. That's all right, just talk.
most of you know me. I reside at 3 Smith Ave, which is right around the corner from this. And I also own Jack's Auto Sales, which is at 801 River Street. I don't have a problem with the variance for him coming forward all the way to the street, maintaining the street line. That's pretty popular in this neighborhood. I don't have a problem with the height of the building. It's irrelevant to me. I do have a problem with the number of the lots. If you're going to build there, I would like to see 4. The problem that I have is with the parking. That's 2 cars per unit, 6 units, 12 cars. There isn't that much parking on River Street in that section. I've been running that garage now for 3.5 years since my dad passed. And I've worked very, very hard to work with the neighborhood to clean that place up. Looks real good, still some deficiencies, but it's coming along. But I work really hard with my neighbors because parking is difficult there. And we show a lot of respect towards each other. We don't park our cars in front of other people's houses and stuff like that. If you dump 12 cars onto that neighborhood, we're going to have a problem. Even if you take away the 4 that are in front of the 4 lots that they have, there's still 8 cars that need to be accounted for. That's not going to fit on River Street between Smith and Happy Lunch there, that little section. We still have not felt the impact from the last Troy Land Bank project, which is the house that's being built with the commercial storefront on the corner of River and Smith. That's an 8 to 10 month build. It's been going on for 2.5 years. And we have not felt the impact of that additional parking where they had a deficiency, where they have 2 units where they required 4, and they have the commercial storefront. They have no parking for that. They have 2 in the back, I think. So we haven't even felt that yet. And when that comes online, that's going to put pressure on this corner as well. The entire south side of Smith Ave is no parking for access to National Grid. In front of my garage is primarily no parking. And my concern is that when my garage closes for service at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, people are going to think they can park in front of my garage when I need to get out of there at 7, 8, 9, and 10 o'clock at night with my tow truck. My driveway is going to be blocked. There is no room for 12 cars. Now I can make a recommendation to Fred to maybe alter his project. If he keeps it to 4 units, and if we keep the road frontage variance so that they're all the way up to the front, maybe they can put a shared common driveway in between the 2 townhouses, and they can accommodate all their parking behind the building if that lot really is 140 feet deep. So that's my suggestion to solve the parking problem. But I don't support 6 units. I don't have a problem with it, bringing it up to the front, maintaining the street curb line, because that's, again, all the problems there. Something he mentioned about the housing that exists there doesn't have accommodations for off-street parking. That's because most of it was built in 1890. So we have rules in an R4 zone. It requires some stuff that we have to comply to. And at the end of the day, I really don't care what they build over there. I don't care how high it is. They have to accommodate for their parking in that section. River Street is narrow there. We have the school up on the next corner. So it is a very dangerous stretch because up where Bellinopoly, road's a little bit wider. You come into that, it bottlenecks down. People come cruising through there all the time. We don't have room for 12 extra cars on that street.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mr. Cox.
Thank
Okay, Mr. DeGusta, would you like to, you have anything to respond to that?
Sure. All I can say is historically, our homes are not 2-vehicle homes. I can't guarantee that for this particular build, but throughout the city, throughout Albany and Troy, we've built over 150 homes. So I have a good idea of what our homeowners usually bring to the table. Not only is, the fact of, now having stability in a neighborhood by having someone that actually owns their home. What we found is that most of them are not 2-car households. A lot of them are 0-car households. So like I said, I understand his concern. But at the same point, our objective is to try to bring as much ownership back to the city so that we can help stabilize neighborhoods that are primarily rental owned or rentals throughout the neighborhood. So that's all I can guarantee, I should say.
Okay, how about if you kept your 3 duplexes, so to speak, and what could you do for off-street parking in the back? Which you said you didn't want to do, but what could you do?
We did take a look at that. The one thing is, this is not a homeowners association, so if we were to add a driveway, someone would have to share that responsibility. And in a home ownership type situation, we would have to develop some type of homeowners association, which we're not, that's not something that we do. So at that point, the maintenance of the alleyway or the roadway to the rear of the homes would be left up to the homeowners, which I think, just based on what I've seen in the past, we've attempted to do this. It's caused a problem because at that point, it's always someone else's problem, and Habitat usually steps out of the equation once we sell the home to the individual homeowners.
So off-street parking in the back, I don't even know, is there an alley there? Is there an alley there in that section?
We would have to create an alley, but there is a drive-through, I should say, that's currently there, or the lot extends to the street in the rear. Unfortunately, I don't know the name of that street, but the street directly behind River Street, there is a continuation there. But again, someone would have to be responsible of maintaining that, and access to all 3 duplexes or 6 homes would require driving through individual lots, which is another legal issue.
Right. I don't know. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to?
Fred,
Sure.
if this gets voted on, all 4 separate votes, and one of them doesn't go through, is the project going to continue, or is the project done?
I guess we'd have to look at it and see what we can do in order to make it work, to be honest with you. If the density was important for us, to make it a viable project for us to have enough funds to kind of recirculate to other projects once this is completed. So that may be a factor. So to be honest with you, I don't know yet. It all depends after I have my debrief meeting tomorrow to determine if we can or cannot proceed.
And obviously, I'm not holding you to any answer. I was just curious.
Yeah, no, yeah. Answer is, I don't know yet.
Well, I wondered about that. I was going to ask about that. Well, I have 2 different points that I'd like to bring up. One is that I live most of my life on Fifth Avenue, and I can't imagine, which can be like River Street in terms of the traffic, and I can't imagine having the driveway and having to pull in and out of a driveway onto Fifth Avenue on a regular basis, as you referred to on River Street. It could be a very dangerous situation, really, to insist that, you're going to pull out or pull in from a driveway. The other thing I wonder, and I could ask probably you, Angie, is about the new zoning ordinance. How does this fit into that? Is that a question I'm allowed to ask publicly? No, because I mean, really, if it's going to pass in another 2 months and it's going to say you don't need a variance for parking, then we're ruining we could potentially be ruining a project that were to come here 6 or 8 weeks from now. It would be a moot point, and that's not fair. I mean, what Habitat for Humanity does is beautiful. Those houses all over the place. It's a remarkable organization, and I'd hate to see it go away if the issue's going to go away. It seems to be parking is the snag for all of us. It isn't, as anybody said, especially Mr. Cox, it's not the setbacks or the this or the that, it's the parking. situation. So I don't know who wants to answer that, if it's answerable.
I don't know the answer.
It doesn't sound like,
From our previous meeting, my understanding is the same, that none of the items that we bring up today would be an issue with the new zoning,
well, then could I ask why you didn't wait?
because we'd like to get started.
Oh,
You know,
I mean, it's not like we're heading into, you know, November and you got to worry about snow. You got a couple of good months ahead of you.
Yeah,
I'm assuming the zoning ordinance is going to be revised within the next month or two.
yeah, I agree. From our time frame perspective, one of the things that we need to do is sort of line up our projects. So I'm
Yeah.
lining up projects right now for the next 18 months.
Oh,
And
okay.
if for any reason something slips, I need to be able to find a
Yeah.
slot in our schedule to keep things moving. So
I see.
it's kind of works.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I believe the current timetable is the end of August to middle of September for voting and passing the zoning. I do not know how this particular project.
Right.
But I will say that one of the criteria for the board to consider is also approving the minimum variances required. So I would caution and just say, they're looking for all parking at this point, for a variance for all parking, but that maybe I don't know if there's any compromise that can be made where maybe there's some off-street parking that's provided, and that would reduce the variance request, since the board does have to consider the minimum variance needed. So I would just put
But
that
I
out
don't
there.
know
as a
where you would
At the end of
put-
the day, I mean, if we do that, just hypothetically with what you're saying, they're gonna have to provide some off-street
I
parking.
was just
unless
gonna
we
say,
provide
they don't have
total-
any,
Total relief for it, so.
he has no parking option, or he hasn't given us any. He says they don't have any. So, I mean, you're right. It's just- Yeah,
Yeah, as far as I can tell, I guess there's really no way for us to keep our density and provide parking without an extended driveway through the side into the rear would be an option, but we would probably have to limit the project down to three homes as opposed to 6 in order to make that work, giving everyone their private driveway so that there are no disputes in terms of sharing that space. And from a project viability standpoint, I don't know if that really works. Like I said, we initially, my initial thought was to provide front garages or driveways. And that's what I was prepared to do until the idea of backing into River Street became a challenge. And I thought about that. Having lived in the city, I get it. Certain times of the day, it's no issues, but the last thing you want is that one time for someone to have an issue, and it's because of the way they drive, or they weren't paying attention, or potentially blocking sidewalks. That was another issue that we had to sort of kind of model out to see, well, what happens. We have a 10-foot setback, 2 cars, they can't find parking on the street, or someone has groceries, so they park one car behind the other. So at that point, the sidewalk is blocked off. So pedestrians would have to walk around the street in order to cross the parcel. So we definitely gave it a lot of thought. And that's when we just
Right, the
sort of
building,
came down to this situation, this scenario.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but all the buildings next door have parking provided right behind the buildings. Why wasn't that looked at? So if you're going upriver, like the 820s, and just from your overhead that you provided, there's a parking lot next to those buildings on Bond, and then there's cars parked behind each one of the buildings.
But it's probably, my guess is that it's a rental. So at that point, they wouldn't have the challenges that we would have. we're not a rental. So unfortunately, someone would have to have ownership of that lot. It's not shared. So that therein lies. the
Once you
problem.
build it, you move on.
Yeah,
So,
we moved on.
I live in one and Mark lives in the other, and it's up to us, and we don't have anybody we can go to and say, we're having a problem with the parking.
Correct.
Yeah, because I own mine, he owns his, and yeah, that's a problem. I don't know. Does anybody have it? John, did you look like maybe you were gonna say
No,
something there?
I'm reading and rereading the guidance on granting or considering an area variance. And I'm stuck on the point of whether the alleged difficulty is self-created, but in general, we're supposed to put it to a balancing test. So if prescribe is the right word, to prescribe a remedy of saying you have to put in the driveways, then that's going to create the issue that he's already addressed in his presentation of someone's going to either have to back in or back out of the
Right.
driveway. And that in the long term, that creates an issue for the
It does,
neighborhood,
it really,
not
it does
just-
create an issue for everybody, or your child's running up the street when somebody's flying out of the driveway, not even flying, and just slowly driving. But I mean, that's, you're in the city, that's a really active area, as so many areas are on the main streets. You got to take all that into consideration. On the other hand, Mr. Cox has a point about the additional. Okay, but it's closed now. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but, all right. No discussion, just I'm making the point.
I mean, Madam Chair, just to move this along a little bit.
Yes.
I would make an application at this time under application PLZBA 2022-0062 to approve the maximum height requirement variance as proposed, which is a relief of 5 feet being sought as it pertains to all 4 lots in this case. I don't think that that's too much of an ask. I believe it does meet all of the criteria in favor of the variance of the height requirement, and I would move to approve that variance.
Can I just inquire from the the engineering and planning department, is it 6 lots that they're seeking a variance for, or 4 lots?
They want to subdivide 4 into 6. So it would be,
But right now, the variance would be for the 4 lots. So I think we would have to approve the variance for the 4 lots.
I don't know.
We can't approve it for 6 because we don't have 6 lots.
I don't know where they're at in the subdivision stage.
That's a good question.
Fred, where are you in the subdivision stage?
That's been submitted. And I think once we get approval, then we would go through and, well, actually, no, it's prepared. It has not been submitted yet. I think we were waiting for all of our approvals prior to submitting it.
It can only be for the 4 subdivision hasn't gone through. Because you can't put
It-
that lot could go exist.
But what was the approval you got at the planning commission? The site plan would have been for the 6.
Oh, you know what? That's right. I apologize. So we did get the approval for the subdivision. I forgot that I actually went through that. Yep.
Okay, so you did get the approval for the.
Yes, we did. I apologize. I forgot we went
That's right.
through that process already.
That's right. So,
So I would amend my application to approve the maximum height variance for relief of 5 feet as it would pertain to all 6 lots, assuming 6 have been approved.
okay, so we're going to go with the
I was gonna second.
Yes, right. That's what I was gonna say. We're gonna go with, that. I was gonna ask you to do that. You're gonna go with the, so we have a motion and a second to approve the, height variance. And on the motion, Jack McCann, Mark Palazzi,
Yes. to-
Katie McLaren,
Yes, to approve.
John Normile,
I vote yes to approve.
and Kathy Conroy, yes to approve. Okay, so you got the setbacks, or the height, the height. So now, we're talking setbacks. Gangway's a good idea. I mean, let's just be, the only holdup is the parking, or the parking spaces, I should say. So, that being the case, do we have a motion on the setbacks, or should we not give them the?
We also need the seeker as well.
Oh, yeah,
that's
right, I'm
right.
sorry, you're right. Should we do that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
We need the secret,
Oh,
motion. We'll
Um,
do that.
Madam Chair, I would ask the board, for PLZBA 2022-0062, I'd ask the board find this proposal to be an unlisted action with sufficient information available upon which to make a determination that the project is not expected to cause significant environmental impacts.
Do we have a second on the secret? Jack McCann seconds. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carry. Okay, so now we're up to the set down. Should I say to the setbacks and the parking spaces? Yes,
Fred, can you begin the project without us voting on this tonight?
No.
I know you were concerned about, it would set you back on beginning the project because the new zoning laws that are coming into effect.
I don't think I think he's frozen there.
no, I'm not frozen. It's just whoever was speaking.
He didn't move for so long. I thought maybe it just got we frozen.
Yeah, it was just I heard someone speaking, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. I'm sorry.
He wanted to know, Jack wanted to know if you could start the project without getting the variances tonight. Probably not. I don't think you can get a
Yeah, I mean,
permit.
we would just need, last thing I'd want to do is start a design.
Yeah,
with
right.
the Potential of it actually changing, so,
Not only that, and get slapped with a violation too of the
Yeah.
starting it without the.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not gonna fly.
Now, our plan would be, if approved, we would continue on with our design and we're probably 30 to 45 days from having plans completed along with construction drawings, then we would submit them for permitting. So our goal right now is to start sometime in September to break ground. So that's our current timeline, assuming that we can move forward with our current plan.
So let me ask you this then. It appears as though we're a little hung up on the parking issue.
Yes.
Rather than have us vote that down, would it be better to table it so that you can kind of not go back to the drawing board necessarily, but see what could be done to remedy, or at least partially remedy, the parking situation?
Well, the initial design started with parking until we started working through various scenarios. So I think if we were to table it and sort of go back to the drawing board, we would be right back where we initially started. And what that basically means is a lesser number of units, and a slightly higher cost per unit because now there is additional site work such as a driveway that we would have to factor into the build. So we have less units, higher cost per unit. So,
And I get that, but the problem that we're facing right now is that, I mean, we haven't actually voted yet, but there's a chance that it's going to fail to pass.
okay,
And then you don't have the opportunity it would be different to table it and amend it, even if it's not completely, take care of all 12 parking spaces, but showing a good faith effort to amend some of it and then coming back for an actual vote rather than having it get shot down.
Or
see what I'm saying?
alternatively, you could find out more data on the zoning changes that go into effect. I mean, look, I'm not voting right now. We're not voting right now. But if we were to vote on this right now, I don't think this meets the criteria to grant an area variance. I just don't. I think it's an undesirable change to the neighborhood. I think it's self-created, and I think it would have an adverse impact on the environment. And I think there's an alternative way you can do what you want to do by putting in driveways, and you've already said that, and that's why I questioned you with respect to putting in 4 units versus 6 and having independent driveways for each. So if this were voted on tonight, I'm going to be a no, and just based on the criteria in the application before me. But as everyone here said, if there is some sort of alternative proposal, or at least more information as to when zoning changes are going into effect, that would have an impact on my vote. That's just me. I'm not speaking for the board.
Right. Sure. I mean, we'll take a look. I mean, if we could make something happen, we definitely will.
Okay, so then do we have a motion to table?
Yeah, and I just want to make it clear that it's not in any way reflective of how, at least for myself, I feel about the project in general. I mean,
Right.
like we've said, you do amazing work. It's just in this particular area, the criteria as far as what we need to see are not met.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go back to the drawing board and see if we can shake loose some different ideas that could potentially be presented as an alternate to our current design that kind of works for everyone.
Or wait until after the new zoning ordinance is put into effect, as Jack suggested? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's an
You
option.
won't need a variance at all, right?
I have a-
Well, I mean, if he doesn't, he doesn't. Yeah, all right, but no discussion. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have answered you. I know. I shouldn't have responded. And I just said, I shouldn't have responded to you. No, you can't. No, there's no
We could,
public discussion is over. And I shouldn't have said anything to you either. That's my fault. I apologize. Okay, I just said I apologize. It's over. Public hearing is over. I shouldn't have spoken to you. I was referring to this, Jack, by the way. But in any event, do we have a motion to table?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead,
Before we
John.
make the Motion.
Yep.
Do we have to stipulate a length of time that this will be tabled, or it will be tabled until the applicant wants to bring it back?
Usually we table until the next meeting unless there's a request to go longer.
I think that's appropriate too. I think Fred wants a quick turnaround on something.
Yeah,
Whether it's-
okay.
At the discretion.
Is this something that I need to identify now in terms of how long we should table this, or does it go? Is it
We're getting
definitely
a legal
meeting
advice.
beginning?
We can table until the next meeting, and then if the applicant requests that we go beyond that, he would just reach out to the
Fred,
city
did you hear
before
that?
then.
Can you hear that?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, good. All right.
So
So
I'm not sure if
that answers your question, John?
It does.
Okay, so do we have a motion to table? Jack McCann will make that motion. Do we have a second, John Normile? And on the
Question. And the motion itself, point of order, is it for all of the remaining variances, or is it
I
just for
would
the
say
parking lot?
yes.
It's for the remaining 3 variances since there hasn't been a motion as to those 3.
And
Then
maybe one would be impacted by the parking if they come up with different parking,
Sure.
the setback situation
Yeah.
or something. Okay, so we have a motion to table the remaining variances, being that the only one we passed isn't even on the, it wasn't even on the application. Yeah, but it
Oh.
isn't on
Can't
the-
believe that's
it
his
isn't
fault.
on the,
oh, gotcha.
in any event, okay, so we need a voice vote for that, right? For a table, Paul, yeah. Jack McCann, John Normile,
I vote yes to table.
Mark Palazzi,
Yes, the tape.
Katie McLaren.
Yes to table.
Kathy Conroy, yes to table. Okay, so we'll see you next month.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Okay, Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
How's that?
Look at that. You just been waiting to do that.
I
all
was
night.
waiting.